Hey guys,
Hello.
Good evening.
caution, right? Are we supposed to
What?
have some caution tonight? Are we supposed to have some caution tonight?
That's no fun. Let's just be bold on the topic that we're
Oh,
discussing.
what's that? Oh, are we talking about how a man can wreck himself?
No, how a man gets wrecked.
Ooh, but that
Oh, it's a,
could he
s-
still?
it's a. You're wrong, Nick.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine.
It,
E-
but it's
Even
a
though it's
minor
Nick's idea,
distinction.
even though this is Nick's idea, he's wrong somehow.
Oh yeah, yeah.
No,
I'm used to
it's a
that.
man can get wrecked. He can either wreck himself or be wrecked by others, and
Yeah.
so that's it's just
So,
a
so,
trivial distinction.
so imagine a guy on a skateboard, right? Going down a railing, and his skateboard snaps in half. He gets wrecked.
Right.
Oh, that's painful just thinking about. Oh,
Or it's
Or
more like the Titanic steering into an iceberg, if you think that actually happened. But yeah, there's that whole thing.
so was
Like,
it his fault for steering into the iceberg or the iceberg's fault for being there?
I wouldn't know. I'm not that knowledgeable on the Titanic.
yes, a piece of ice just drifting around under the forces of physics, but nope, it's the iceberg's fault.
Hey, it's like a dog, right? The dog is distracted. You ever seen this? A dog being distracted, and he's running around excited, barking, and he runs straight into a wall.
Have you seen some of those videos where people are walking down the sidewalk looking at their phones and they walk into a pole?
Can't say I haven't done it. Or you don't see the step down from the sidewalk and you trip over yourself because you're on your phone. Yeah, that's happened.
Yeah, and then you always have to look back like, hey, there's a crack in the sidewalk or there's something I tripped over just to
Yeah.
cover your wounded pride. Nope, nope, it
Well,
wasn't me. It was
no, it was
oh
the
yeah.
phone's fault. It was the phone's fault. It's supposed to make me smart, right? It's called a smartphone.
I don't know I don't know if I can get behind
No.
that. Not they're not smart.
No, I think it's really part of the idiocracy. By the way, it's a good movie. You all should see it. We're living it right now. Okay, so there's paths to destroy a man. There's many ways a man could be destroyed. A man's life could be wrecked or shipwrecked, as you could say. So, we're Christian men. So, what are like some of the deadly ways a man could sin and wreck his life? What are some of the sins that really affect a man?
Well, I'm thinking of all types of different addictions. Alcoholism is such a common one.
Yeah. What are the seven deadly sins though, Plutarch? There's lust,
I don't know the
right?
seven deadlies. That's I'm not Catholic.
Oh, okay, okay.
Hey, I looked these up, Nick.
Oh, I got a Wikipedia on. Hold on.
I'll tell
Give me
you
a
what they
moment.
are.
All right, here we go. Steve
I
the
looked them
Catholic.
up.
Come
I
on,
have my
Papist.
notes here. They're
You're
just
wrong,
on a
Pape.
note
No.
card today. Seven deadly sins are
All right,
pride,
let's go.
greed, wrath, lust, envy, gluttony, and sloth.
So, are these seven ways a man's life can be wrecked? Not just in this life, but for the life to come?
I mean, I was going to crack a joke about being a fan of all 7, but
Come on, man. We're trying to be the moral red pill.
Uh,
Oh, wait a minute.
okay,
Uh,
but for the brown coats out there, they'll know what I'm referring to.
yeah.
No, I'm trying to crack. I was trying to crack a joke.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there are things to think about, to be on guard against, and you have to look within. You know, and too often the red pill promotes the idea that men are men and we're just fine, and the problem is the women.
It's not
Well,
entirely true.
we're
Yeah.
not taking that stance.
No. And a lot of red pill
No,
guys don't. Not everybody does.
Most red pill guys don't.
Yeah. It's
so
not always
no,
blame the woman.
no, we're not, and that's not what this stream is about.
No.
Okay, yeah, okay. To be honest, you can get destroyed by a woman.
That's true. It does
Uh,
happen. You're
it
both
does
persons,
happen.
right?
You what?
They're both persons, right?
Right.
We'll get to that
But
maybe another day.
oftentimes you get destroyed by yourself.
Yeah. The one person you can control, right?
Absolutely, yes.
You can't control the other person, but you can control yourself, right?
Are
Very
you
true.
saying that one of the highest values of men is self-control?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well,
Hmm.
for example here, I also wrote down the 7 cardinal virtues: faith, hope,
Interesting.
charity, justice, prudence, temperance, fortitude. Okay, so let's pick wrath as one of the sins. What is the opposite of wrath? I
Temperance,
would
right?
say it's temperance.
Okay.
Okay, sloth, laziness. What's the opposite of sloth or laziness? Oh, that's fortitude.
To be strong.
Fortitude is perseverance.
Fortis. Fortitude, persevering, sure. That means effort, endurance, correct? Enduring through life, through
Yeah, lazy
good
men
and the
don't.
bad.
Lazy men don't endure very well. That's very true.
Yeah.
And I thought that just as a minor aside, there is, yes, we're all aware of physical laziness, not condoning that, but we also need to be aware of mental laziness.
Oof.
And I
Oh,
think
you
that
mean it's not just so you're talking about frame is not just about being like the strong, jacked, biggest MO out MFer out there.
no, that's actually a pretty good way to end up getting wrecked a different way.
Okay. How
Uh,
so?
Well, if you're mentally lazy, and I'm going to Steve was talking before we got on
All right.
about something, but uh, as a guy, if you're not out there looking out for threats, I mean, isn't that what we're programmed to do? And you're not doing it, isn't that pretty lazy? Just sitting around thinking, oh, I don't have to worry about anything. I'm going to be taken care of. Sorry.
On the
Talking
jack
about
dad, right?
complacency.
Oh, so you could like be a strong man physically, but it turns into the sin of hubris, pride, and then you become complacent.
You think that, well, and I see this a lot in I was just reading a Twitter post this afternoon. This guy was talking about prepping, and he was saying, look, just because you have a long range hole puncher does not mean that you're ready for the collapse. It's, you have to think about this and this and this and this and this, right? And that applies to people who think that just being ripped is going to be sufficient. Like, okay, so the guy with the long range hole puncher puts one through your head, and I mean, what did you think you were going to do? Rip his head off his socket? Yeah, he just ends you and
You
moves
can't
on.
always see it, and you can't always see it coming. I mean,
Well,
life's just difficult like that. So
it's interesting you mentioned that, because in that Twitter post, the guy was saying, there's Delta operators who've been unalived by some 67 IQ Somali guy firing wildly into the air. Right? You
yeah,
can be killed by sepsis in a grid out situation, right? So it's not enough to just say I'm ripped.
well, in warfare and prolonged warfare, like we can think of the history of wars. What was it? Just casualties by violence and wounds?
No, most people did not die on the battle proper. They died afterwards.
Yeah. So you could
Well,
be a great shot. You could be physically fit, and you could succumb to illness or something else.
Yeah.
well, even more common than that was they would cordon off a city, do a siege, and deprive the city of any trade with anyone else. And then they either ran out of food or water. And I think in wartime, ancient war especially, more people died of starvation or contaminated water supply than anything else.
Yeah, that's probably true. We don't have great data on that.
No, we don't. I'm just kind of using
Yeah,
logic to guess at that.
Well, but
we keep exposing the narrative while talking about how a man can be wrecked. Well, you see, you can be very physically fit. You could be mentally, you could be physically prepped and be a great shot, and you still get undone and wrecked by something else. And sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. Life isn't fair.
amen.
Well, we're talking about two different things here.
Okay.
So, yeah, well, in general, okay, let's assume you're a decent guy in all aspects, and you're practicing the seven cardinal virtues, and you're avoiding the seven cardinals or deadly sins, and you're looking out for threats, and prepping for the things you can think about. You know what destroys you? It's always something you didn't anticipate. Or maybe it's betrayal from someone you assumed was on your side. Men are off of their. Okay, so it falls in two areas. You can be destroyed from within, from your conduct, from your attitude. And remember, we're just on this world. Or if we're Christian, we don't really believe our life here matters that much. It's our conduct and attaining heaven for our eternal salvation. So, you're always destroyed by things you didn't see or by internal things. And don't focus entirely on temporal destruction, worldly destruction in this world, if you neglect your soul and you're destroyed for eternity by your own decisions.
That's kind of why I wanted to start with the seven deadly sins. Yeah, we're red pill. We care about your life here and how you want to be. We honestly want. I think most of us want to be happily married men with a hot ass wife that's way into us, right? Well,
Who
we're
doesn't
on our
want that?
right. That's what we want, right? But that is not all that we live for. And so we could give you. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about that tonight. But we did want to remind you that of the 7 deadly sins, and you can find those in the Bible. Yeah, there's various other sins and shades of sins, but
Look,
they will wreck you.
you
We
can't
want
find
you
this.
we want to remind you that there's also an eternal state, and it's not just this temporal estate here on earth or
But you
at
cannot
this time
find
on earth.
you cannot find a list of the 7 deadly sins in the Bible, nor can you find a list of the 7 cardinal virtues. They have been developed and surmised and supported by the Bible, by church fathers and writers on philosophy. Even probably, I haven't done the research on this, but I would assume some non-Christian philosophers have arrived at the same things. And yes,
Yeah,
these
probably
things are
similar. Yeah.
supported, absolutely supported by what's in the Bible, but they're not listed in the Bible.
Right. Okay, guys. How not to wreck yourself. What can we sort of control? What does the red pill tell us about friends and tribes? Should we just be the Sigma male, the lone wolf?
Well, I was going to say the first thing that we need to know is that you're going to have one. No man is an island. You cannot survive on your own. It's one of the great the stumbling blocks of the prepper community is they think that they're going to do it on their own. And we've talked about this before. So you got to have one.
You're born into a community. You're born into a family, ideally and normally. Although we're in a really weird trend on this side of history right now, which is probably explains why so much crap is so effed up, right? Um, so if I don't recall, doesn't like Rich Cooper and others talk about you're like the average of the 5 people you hang out with? You're the sum of the average of the 5 people you spend your time around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Rich has mentioned that, and I've heard other people say that.
Yeah. I don't know if that's red pill, but I heard that in the red pill sphere, right?
Yeah, I didn't
And
hear it till
here,
I got in here.
right?
You know, Americans have this belief in rugged individualism.
Settler culture. Yeah, that's
I mean, it's just kind of so deep that we forget that it's there. But yes, you're an individual. Yes, you can do what you want, and you can accomplish it on your own. That is distinctly an American settler belief. Historically,
Robinson Crusoe type thing.
yeah, historically,
Yeah.
wait, does an individual exist? Well, you got here, your mother gave birth to you. You were raised in a family. You depended on community. You need to contribute to that community. You are the product of your upbringing and the people around you. Even now, as an adult, theoretically, by the 5 most closest friends around you, they have a lot of influence. So really, are you an individual or just a member of a community? I mean, yes, you're both, but I'm trying to push back on this simplistic view of things.
Well, it goes back to how we were created in the image of God with unity and diversity. There's one God, one being, right? And 3 distinct persons. Not separate persons, but 3 distinct persons: the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The same in substance, equal in power and glory.
But if they're the same, they're kind of equal.
Yeah.
Even among those equal persons, there's a hierarchy.
Or an order. I don't know if it's a hierarchy of superiority.
The Father begot the
The
Son.
Son.
So that implies a hierarchy.
But he's eternally begotten. There's never was a time when the Son was not.
Hey, you know what? They've been debating this for hundreds of years, and the human mind is too small to comprehend this.
Yeah.
Which is
But
why
they're
we're not going to
equal.
get into it.
Okay. Sounds like a good actually this is a good like Thomistic and Eastern Orthodox debate. I'm probably siding with Aquinas, so
Ruh-roh.
but yeah, it's a good debate. Anyway, it's all in good
Oh.
faith, we're not ostracizing anybody here for that. But
Damn, Nick.
yeah,
Does this make you a Calvinist Thomist?
kind of. I always like Thomas Aquinas. And you know what? There's a lot of guys in like the Reformed tradition that were Thomist in some sense. It didn't mean they accepted everything he said, but he has a valid way of thinking. Oh, not everything he said was wrong. Imagine that. Okay.
Am I going to have to split you guys up? Am I going to have to?
Oh yeah, we're having fun, but that's okay. So,
You know what?
friends are
If
friends
Nick and
and
I were
community.
closer after, if Nick and I lived closer after this stream, we'd give each other a brotherly hug.
Yeah, we would.
That's good to hear.
Oh yeah. See, what you don't know is our private conversations. We love just just poking at each other, just trying to poke holes in each other's arguments. And we're fine with that. We don't get upset. It's like, no, you're wrong. No, because of this, and we explain why, and it's all fun, and we sometimes we actually learn something from one another, and like it actually can create a greater respect, even though we know our differences, but we can appreciate the differences and understand those differences
Well,
instead of having
Nick.
this fake facade of, oh, let's just all be friends and la di da. No.
Well, Nick, it sounds like you're describing the other side of this, where getting back to a little bit where Steve was going. It can be the people who you think are your friends, who it can be your wife, but also the ability to regulate your own emotions is going to have a large impact on whether or not you get wrecked. Like,
Yeah.
we can talk about what other people do, and we love talking about what other people do, but do you guys out there think that Nick and Steve could have this friendly back and forth over church theology if they didn't have some level of emotional regulation? And honestly, when I see guys wrecking themselves, even when it comes to women, let's say the woman pulled the dirtiest trick, okay? The purpose of the trick is to get you into your emotions. And they want you in your emotions because
True.
they want you to screw up. They want you to wreck yourself.
And that's why they like to draw it out for hours on end, even to late at night, where you're tired, you're broken down. It's not by accident. It's not by accident, guys. So they
Well,
do that to wear you down where you're weak, and then you will succumb to your fatigue.
Right.
I've realized this as I've gotten older. A good friend who I let in really close and I trust, I need him to be a man of substance, and I need him to push back on me, be willing to criticize me and correct me, but not be emotionally volatile. And then we can have good debates and disagreements, and I can consider what he said, modify my views. I don't have to agree with him on everything, but he's got to be willing to correct me and even risk offending me. Otherwise, I really don't want to trust him, because otherwise it's just sucking up to him sucking up to me, and us being all buddy buddy and pretending to agree on everything. But men need correction. And that's why when you get together with a group of men, there's a lot of, little slams and innuendos and uh, a lot of banter and putting each other down. And someone who can't take that, you kind of look at that guy, I don't know if I like that. And then if a guy gets a really good dig in on you, you laugh and say, "You got me good there," and he gets a little bit more respect.
So
So
I'll
again,
t- I'll
emotional
tell you
regulation.
I'll tell you of an interesting experience. It's both it was a weakness of mine, and then I learned my weakness. I was in high school football. I didn't always understand the banter. I'm it kind of like went over my head for many years. I was like, why is this guy bantering with me? Is he just making fun of me? I don't get it. Why is he doing this? And I'd go out there and I'd take him out because they pissed me off. Eventually, he's like, man, this is just what men do. We cut at each other. I'm not mad at you, man. I'm not really trying to hurt you. I'm just trying to mess with you a little bit as friends. I'm like, oh. It dawned on me. I was probably like 15 years old when it finally set in. I'm like, oh no, this is how we're supposed to act. And I kind of thought about my friends that weren't there in football and how they interacted with me. It's like, yeah, we kind of did the same thing, but I knew they were my friends. I didn't associate friendship and my teammates because we had this huge team, right? It was a 5A, high school football team.
Yeah.
So, but then I learned, oh, maybe these guys aren't out to get me. Yeah, not out to get me a little bit, but they're not out to destroy me, but we're out to, have some camaraderie and build each other up. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Well, yeah, and ever since then I realized, yeah, that's kind of how most men act in a group of friends or a team, and it's not bad.
It's not bad unless you get to something like what Steve was talking about, where you meet that one guy who you're just kind of like, why isn't he getting this? Can I
That
trust
was
him?
me.
Yeah, that was you, Nick.
Okay,
Oh,
I
hey,
learned.
that
I
it was
learned
me
though.
too. It was me too. So
I learned. I was like, oh, he was right, and I was like, yeah, I get it now. I'm sorry.
Okay, I don't really want to go here, but I'm going to have to, because it's just the next thing. Contrast this to women, how women interact with each other. And now, one woman will say something to another woman or in a group of women, and it will offend someone. And then everyone gets all butthurt. And that, friendships break up by, if you tell the truth and it really offends a woman, it destroys the whole thing. It's risky. So what? When men can act like men and have disagreements, and, okay, even fuck up, and your buddy says, well, okay, we can still patch this over, and then you give each other criticisms here and there, and it's banter. You respect the guy. But when a guy gets really offended at you and comes at you for no good reason, or what you think could have been a minor thing and resolved, yeah, in your mind you think, gee, they're kind of acting like a woman, and that becomes destructive, because people get emotional and they take offense, and then things escalate, and it's something that a man doesn't anticipate happening. He just doesn't. Okay, and maybe he even provoked it a little bit, but he didn't anticipate that it would blow up into something, because we all have corrections, because we all know how powerful we are physically. And so you have to, de-escalate things as you interact with other men. Temperance.
Well, Shu's comment is actually an interesting corollary here because, yeah, if you bring an attractive woman into a brotherhood, guys, we don't act the same around women as we do other men.
No.
Some guys start showing off for the girl, and and then other guys get offended when you do that. And hey, that's my girl. Like
And it's like bringing a woman into the workplace too. It's like another problem.
Yeah,
It messes up the whole dynamic.
Well, because now you're not men behaving like men with other men. Like Nick was saying, oh, I'm on the football field, and I cut you a little bit. Like okay, but that's men and men. Okay.
You
But
build each other up. You don't take it personal, and if you do take it personal, it's like, you're a effing, P word, right?
right, and you kind of throw it back at them.
Yeah.
But this is, I mean, if you want to get political for a half a minute here, this is why bringing women into men's spaces has been such a universal disaster. The workplace is only one of them.
Yeah.
Like so. And the reason is that men and women handle conflict differently. And I think that's what Steve was trying to get at. And if you're a guy and you're not prepared for that difference, like, a dude brings his woman in and she's attractive and he's doing it kind of show off maybe. Well, you're going to say, okay, dude, but that's not what we were here for. And even then, even if a guy does that, you're going to be like, okay, what's going on here?
That's kind of like the Boy Scouts were meant for boys, right?
Oh, yeah. I'd really rather not talk about that.
No, just it's a aside, right?
Yeah.
So
men need.
It's just a pain point for me as a Boy Scout.
Okay, in my work career, I've been a professional man working in an office, engineer, consultant, project manager. Women are around. You're dealing with a mixed group of people, and you have to have a certain conduct there. Well, now I'm a teamster. I'm a truck driver, semi truck driver, and I work with nine other guys. We're all truck drivers. It's a small place, and my boss is a man, and the guys in the warehouse are men. The whole dynamic is completely different. I don't have to worry about everything I say in all the political correctness. Okay, it's a different working environment. But I actually, as a man, just going in, I get to do my job. I get to be who I am. And as long as I do it well, nobody messes with me. This is great.
There's no effeminate HR department and the
Okay,
genocracy breathing down your back.
The HR. Okay, it is a woman in there now. But that's okay. But prior to her coming on, believe it or not, the HR manager was a guy I graduated from high school with.
Oh, there you go.
Probably worked better for the company.
And now it's a woman in there, but it's still such a male-dominated company that she can only have, a certain amount of influencer. Yeah, we got to go through some of the same training, and I guess I got to go through some workplace harassment training next week, an hour or two.
Yay.
That box.
I had to do that when I was working for big corps as well. I hated it, but because like I'm not going to do any of this stuff because interestingly enough, I was working at a place. It was a total mixed environment, men and women working literally side by side, and I was married, but I was on such high guard the whole time. You know, and it's like, and maybe that was just me. Maybe there were guys who were out there. Well, I'll say it this way: whale hunting. Um, but you know, sometimes the you just need to be prudent about what like what you're doing as a guy. Sometimes you just have to say, you know what, there's just a list of things I'm not going to get involved in.
Yeah, Colonel Buckshot has a good comment here.
This is
I was
something
a
that
line
Luke does
supervisor
well with
in a
land.
major vehicle manufacturing plant, supervised 55 employees. The amount of crap women stirred up was unreal. Was so glad to take early retirement, away from all that BS. Yeah,
That's
okay,
why women
so,
need to be under a man so it can be under
well,
control.
okay, cool it, Nick. Um, I was going to say, what I wanted to say is, yeah, okay, this is one of the things that a man has to be aware of and be prudent, recognize the environment, and control what he says, and from even putting on the perception or posing a situation where he could be falsely accused, which actually could wreck him. To bring
Yeah.
it back to the original intent of this stream.
Don't wreck yourself. You need to have good friends. Oh, so you need to have friends, right? You need to have a community where you could sharpen iron. Men need their own group of people to build each other up, but you also need to beware of crappy friends, right? Yeah, men and women can't just be just friends. You'll get dragged down their stupid bullshit. You'll become like a woman, she'll become like a man. It won't be good for anyone. But you need good men. You don't need shitty people that'll drag you down. So you need, like as Rich Cooper said in the Red Pill, just look around you. You're going to become the average of the people you find yourself around. So choose your friends wisely. Oh, by the way, the Bible has some stuff to talk about that, but I won't talk about that just like yet. I like to keep talking about the stuff from the Red Pill. What's another thing? What another way a man can wreck himself? It's sort of an issue, but yeah, I'll go there. I think the red pill's wrong on its promiscuity. I think it's inviting to wreck yourself. You're inviting yourself to be wrecked by spinning plates and pounding woman after woman after woman, perhaps even prostitutes themselves.
The first way I can think of getting wrecked here is legally. Let's be honest. You can also get uh, baby wrecked here. Like there are so many just horrible, horrible things that can happen to a guy if he wets his willy in the wrong woman. You know,
Yeah,
and I mean, it is a little hypocritical to say, beware of women and all the ways they can wreck you. And oh, by the way, go go poon diving on
yeah.
everything you can. It's sorry, guys, your logic doesn't stand the test here. Now,
Bad prescription. Bad prescription. And
right?
it's an immoral prescription. And morality is inevitable. You can't get away from it. But you're also inviting trouble, as you said.
The the amount of trouble that you can invite by poon diving is it can put you in jail. Like,
Well,
be careful with that.
it can. Okay, now let's talk about another way you destroy yourself. Okay, men and the red pill know, oh, yeah, for each notch count the woman gets, it lowers her value. Okay, yeah, absolutely. guys, for every notch count you get, it lowers your value. Maybe not in
Yeah,
her eyes, but in the eyes of God. And you know
that's
what?
true.
If you and we talked about this a week ago with game. If you're learning game to learn how to meet women and bed women and sleep with a bunch of women, all you're learning about is the approach and the initial stage. You're not learning anything long term.
What
And your
happened to the people in the
legacy,
book? Keep going, keep going.
your legacy is the long term. Don't you want to have children? Don't you want to raise a son and daughter and have something that lasts beyond your life? Well, that means you got to build something with a woman and you have to stay in that life. And you know what? You can chase all the poon you want and you can get all the notch counts you want. You can seek all the fleeting pleasures you want. But is that going to be your long-term contentment?
Well, look, even in the PUA community, the precursor to some of the RP, you see the failure of what was it, Mystery in the book, was it The Game? Was that the name of the book?
That was Neil Strauss.
Yeah, Neil Strauss. Yeah. So there's two guys there, Mystery and the author, I guess, right? I listened
Well,
to this
Neil
about a year ago.
Strauss wrote that book. I think Mystery was friends with them.
Yeah.
Mystery had some courses, and the biggest group, most notorious group, was Real Sexual Dynamics, RSD.
Was it was it like Project Hollywood or something they had or something like that?
I don't know if they had that, but it was Tyler Durden, whose real name was Owen Cook. He put out a lot of material on the pickup artist community. And a lot of it was actually good information. And yes, they were promoting it for promiscuity intent. But I do believe that a lot of the men who took their courses and who went to this area is because, hey, I just want to find a woman. I just want a girlfriend. I want to be able to meet women and find the one for me. Yes, some of them used it for notch counts. I don't believe you just teach a man uh this thing and they're going to use it for evil purposes. It's just like you teach a man how to shoot a gun. Is he going to go out and use that gun to kill people?
There's
No.
a s well, there's a sense between the skill and being an actor. You gotta be able to I think that's where Mystery and others kinda they could never find they struggled so much in LTRs. They could bed women fine, but they couldn't hold on to them.
Well, okay, but holding on to a woman is a speaking from experience, having done it and not done it. It's a very different set of skills than just getting
Yeah.
her to take her pants off. Very different set.
Yeah, Nick. Damn, we are so skilled at holding on to women.
Hey, I've got 8 years. I don't know what that's worth, but I've got 8 years on number two. So
I had 17 years in number one,
I had
7 years
11.
in number two.
yeah,
Yeah,
And Nick,
and
you had what?
I had
7, 8
11.
years?
I had
11.
11.
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You know what? What
you can
what is
still.
long term?
Yeah. That's a great question.
Well, that's why the red pill exists, is because you could have all the PUA skills and be a moral guy. You could be the most Christian guy out there that's doing his duty, and still you can get wrecked. But we're going to hold off on that. So, whoredom, right? Sexual immorality. Yeah. Look, guys, It ain't all it's put out to be. Even Mystery couldn't, you know, he in the end wanted an LTR and he kept failing at it. I don't know where he's at now. Maybe he's with a woman that he's always wanted to be with, and props to him. If not, I'm sorry. What's another way a man could ruin himself? Well, drunkenness and addictions. Well, this is not just man and it's both men and women, right? Mankind can ruin themselves with drunkenness and addictions where you're not sober. You make decisions that can wrongly impact you for the rest of your life. You get in a car, you had too much to drink, you get in a car. You yourself could get in a wreck, right? You can get a DWI, go to jail, have to lose a bunch of money.
Well,
Funny.
honestly, drunkenness is one that I think that we don't pay enough attention to. I think
Yeah.
partly because we look at in the red pill, we look at guys and we say, yeah, you're going through a rough time, and we try to be empathetic towards guys who are, hitting the sauce maybe a little too hard. But I have an uncle that because of drunkenness, no one in my family will talk to him. Not a soul. And we were talking about early on in the show about tribes and friends. Well, drunkenness is a good way to make sure you end up with none of those. And what that
And
can do
also,
to a
it's
man is,
also the friends you choose as well can also lead you into drunkenness.
oh yeah. So I just want to dwell on that for a little bit because this is another kind of nuanced thing. Is drinking wine immoral?
No,
Clearly
no.
not. If I recall correctly, Jesus at the wedding drank wine. So I mean, if
And
the
grape juice
son,
can't burst wineskins. Yeah.
right, if the son
Yeah.
himself can drink wine, I don't think we get to claim it's immoral. However, drunkenness, uh, I mean, drunkenness itself is more of a state of being. The morality that led you to it is probably the real issue.
Mhm.
But when you're drunk, you're not in control of yourself.
That's correct.
And we were talking about emotional regulation. Uh, the purpose of getting drunk is to, that's what they say. Beer goggles loosen your inhibitions. Yeah, that's really real.
Yeah.
But it puts you. But it. I think we forget that emotional dysregulation is a form of vulnerability for men, particularly.
Yeah. It's a way for man to release. And that's not always a good thing. That's why it should be regulated and you shouldn't become drunk.
And if you're getting drunk around friends, make sure they're good friends. And
Yeah.
I've tried to practice that. I don't drink much, but when I do, I mean, usually it's family, like birthdays or something like that. Typically,
Mhm.
but again, my family is not, and I can't say this is true for every one of you out there with your families, but my family is not going to be the kind of where you get fall down drunk, and I have been. I have stories from Hawaii uh, where I was tequila man. It's something different, and
Yeah, I've been there as a college student, so
yeah,
yeah.
So what?
yeah.
You don't have any Irish blood in you?
I have a lot of Irish blood in me.
I
It
do.
it it took them a lot of tequila to get me, and they still couldn't get me blackout drunk. But you know, but it was with family members. It was our last day on Hawaii. It was the final blowout. And we were just in the flat that we had rented, and we didn't go anywhere. We didn't go downstairs. We didn't go into the pool. We didn't do anything. We just because it was like, okay, we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna go on a bit of a rager. Okay. but I was around family and nothing bad ever happened. Nothing, it's like, oh, okay. And then you wake up the next day, you've got the hangover. And that's particular case, I also got a cold to go with it. So I'm stuffed up on the airplane ride on the way home, but okay. Yes, I got drunk. I did. And I know I did. But who I surrounded myself was of prime importance and nothing bad happened.
So, one or two occurrences, occasional. It's probably not the end of the world. Hey, we all have these occasional things that happen.
Yeah, that happens.
And okay, we need to learn from them and strive to do better. Just go back to promiscuity. We all have a past. Some of our pasts are worse than others. Just because we did things then doesn't define us. Every once in a while, it's a man can slip up, a woman can slip up. Okay, is that the end of the world? No, I'm not advising it or condoning it or excusing it. But let's just recognize that it happens. And then you need to have the fortitude, the prudence, and the other virtues humility is a big thing. To recognize, okay, yep, I screwed up. That's not who I am or not who I want to be. And get back on the narrow path.
Well, the drunkenness and also other addictions, like with drugs and stuff, it also is a way to it's a way of escaping the woes of reality.
And I think there you go. There's another one from the Colonel over there.
Yeah,
Life gets harder.
life gets hard.
Some guys find it. Some guys find it, and it doesn't ensnare them. Some guys find it, and it becomes their lives. And that's just as true of drugs. Look,
And it usually revolves around a woman.
I was
How
actually
many
just going to
times
say that.
There we go. So we're of the same.
Well, yes and no. A woman or war.
That's true.
Because
yeah.
the World War II vets that came back, yeah, they saw
Went through some shit.
terrible things. And you know what? They actually did some terrible things. Men do terrible things in war. And that haunts them later. And in order to cope with that, they drink. And you know what? When a man goes through a divorce and it's devastating, a lot of men cope with that by drinking. That's
or other drugs or
common.
other drugs. Yeah.
Or other drugs. It's very, very common. Yeah, it's a path to destruction.
It is.
I guess you could say, things happen to him, and then that's part of the destruction. But the next step of the destruction is what he does to himself.
Self-destruction. So not only, drinking and drugs, but the self-destruction, a lot of times linked with such drunkenness and addictions, is self-destruction itself, self-deletion.
Oh, it can lead to that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because a lot of times, some of the drugs will act differently than the alcohol, but the alcohol actually will amplify. It's a depressant. And a man who's gone through some shit like a divorce or some crazy crap, that's when he can be really susceptible to making a decision he can't reverse.
Well, that's what a lot of this comes down to. It isn't. I mean, I'm not going to say that particularly hard drugs are good for you. They're not. But the thing that gets the guy in trouble usually isn't the anesthetic of choice itself. It's what happens to him when that anesthetic hits and he can't control himself anymore. And you know, yeah, some guys are happy drunks, but not all of them. You
And
know,
not all the time, and not all
yeah.
the time.
And it's like if you want to talk about here's another way, the corollary of this that you often hear put together, uh guys abusing the physically assaulting the people around them, and they're drunk.
Yeah.
Things they would never do sober, they do when they're drunk or on drugs, and now they have to go away to jail for two things,
Yeah.
and you could lose your kids.
Mhm.
Holy shit. Talk about I mean, the self-destruction that can occur on this topic is, I think it's some of the worst of all the stuff in your list. I think this one can be the worst. And
Yeah,
You
totally
know,
understand.
to every
Yeah.
man, uh, unfortunate, bad shit is going to happen to you throughout your life. Some men seem to lead a charmed existence, and they didn't have to suffer through the things that you've experienced. Okay, well, is that good or bad? Do you want an easy existence? Well, kind of yes. But, have you ever prayed the Lord's Prayer? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead me not into temptation, but deliver me from evil. Okay, but that last bit, lead me not into temptation and deliver me from evil. That means, damn, don't give me more of a test that I can endure or pass, and help me in my time, that I won't fall to that evil. And you know what? Again, the thing I've said before, men, neither man nor woman learns much when the times are easy. You learn from the hardships. Okay, now if you believe that, we all know it's true. Uh, does, does God show you more love when He allows hardships to happen to you, or He gives you an easy life? Because,
He
if the
chastens those whom
hardships
he loves.
happen, man, that just sucks, doesn't it, Nick?
Yeah, man.
I don't like that. I don't like that answer, but it's kind of
No, he
true.
chastens. But you know what? I have a fortitude going through the shit I went and really wrestling with the goodness and justice of God, all the crap that happened to me, being zeroed out, my kids, false accusations and all that. And, I rebelled for a bit and I came I came close. I don't know if you ever I don't believe I ever really would have ever done it because I don't think it's possible if you're truly in Christ. But I was contemplating rejecting God, and at the end of the day, I just realized that I can't really reject him. I'm just mad at him. But God is good. God is just. And I'm just a man. I can't understand. But then he started working good through me, even when I was kind of in the midst of everything. I was like, oh. maybe you had a plan through all this pain, through all this suffering for your own glory. It's like, wow, so now I've actually helped a whole lot of people through the pain I experienced, through the crap I went through. I'm now able to help other people, give them hope, point them in the right direction, and sympathize with them in their suffering. I'm like, oh, you mean like how Christ did for me? Right?
Yeah, well,
Well,
you
Nick,
understand.
and is what you're saying here is that because you had the fortitude, you come out the other side of it. You haven't wrecked yourself in the way that you were considering, and now, having lived through it, you get to be a help to other people.
That's correct.
So there is a virtue to not wrecking yourself, just in surviving the wrecking.
Yeah.
That
So
means
yeah,
there's a
we can wreck
meaning.
ourselves.
Yeah, that means there's a meaning to suffering.
There is.
Suffering is not just punishment. Yeah, it teaches you can grow and get stronger through that, and then you can understand others and have more compassion towards others and actually help them and assist them through their times. Uh, okay, well, maybe this is all bullshit what I'm saying, but it helps me to find meaning through what I've gone through. And through what I've gone through, I understand why some men choose to self delete. I didn't consider it myself, but I was at the point where yeah, I actually understand why someone in my situation would do that.
Yeah, same here. Well, shortly after I filed for divorce, I handed over all the firing pins to a fellow man, and you know, uh, and then he gave them back once I demonstrated that I was,
Yeah.
and that it wasn't very long. I got over it relatively quickly, and reflected later that I did most of my mourning during the final months of the marriage and not after. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
So,
but that
I
it
understand.
was
My stepfather actually has mine still. I said, when everything's all said and done, I'll get it back, but I
okay.
don't want it until I'm
Well,
completely
but
done.
Nick, this makes a point.
Yeah.
Having good men in your life, just
Yeah.
like with the drunkenness, we went on a rager in Hawaii. Good people in your life made it in this case, made it in my with the Hawaii thing, an enjoyable experience. And in your case, I'm not going to say whether or not it helped you, but it was like another man comes in and he says, you know what? I need to help you out here because you're not in a state to recognize that you need to be helped.
And you know what some of the worst people were? This is the I'm not saying all. There's actually a few good men that were in the church, a few, and they were pastors and they're good men. So I'm not throwing everyone under the bus here, but it was the Christians were some of the worst people.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Look,
The
my
names.
secular friends didn't give me the colonoscopy after we broke up.
No.
It was the Christians.
And again, I'm not throwing every single Christian. There's some very good, faithful men that have suffered a lot, that had my back, that were there calling me every week, praying for me, encouraging me. And actually, that witness was part of what caused me not to completely turn my back on God. Was the few good men.
Well, and it's similar for me. There's one the pastor of the church, actually the pastor, the guy who married us. I specifically do not blame him. He
Yeah.
he did not put me through the great microscope
Yeah.
bullshit that the church does. There were a couple other in the church who just they understood it and they didn't. But there's it's just a part of the church, and the guys that didn't put me through it, I would still go back and talk to. I've kind of lost contact with a lot of them. I'm actually kind of hoping to reconnect here with a couple of them in a couple weeks, but like I would still talk to them. I would still trust them. I would still work with them. But there's a whole bunch of people who I look at and I go, nope.
No.
Well, remember, I previously said, yeah, we're not really individuals. We're part of a community. We need those around us. A lot of those around us fail, but we're not an individual, and I can do it on my own. You help other men. Well, first of all, you get helped by other men. Predominantly in the times of crisis, it's another man. And then as you get through it and you learn, okay, now you have the insight to help others. And you don't have to be in their life long term. You can be a friend now. You can be that guy that has that impact. Just like Plutarch was talking about. And, why do we do what we do on this channel? Yeah, we got a handful of viewers. Seems like insignificant. But we put this out here. We have a handful of people watching tonight. If it's doing service to them and helping them understand and that makes sense of their world, and someone understands your struggles and has been there and done that and is working to get to the other side, then that's a benefit. And maybe these will exist, these streams will exist 5-10 years from now. And I've noticed something, a friend, a good Christian man, calls it choreography, where just when you need a piece of information, something shows up. And gee, this is exactly what I needed. Well, maybe our stream is one of those that 5 years from now, some guy needs to hear this message through a happenstance or God's providence or whatever. It just shows up and he listens to this and he says, damn, say, wow, that's exactly what I needed at this moment. You don't need to affect hundreds of people or thousands. Isn't it enough to just be there for that one person?
If you can save one man's life, you have done more good work than most people will ever accomplish in their lifetime.
And that's why I think we've had this discussion, but that's part of the reason why I think it's wrong to try to destroy the red pill, because the church is not doing their job. They're the ones who should give people hope. But a lot of times it's the red pill that gives man hope in the midst of a terrible situation of being, a woman betrayed him. Perhaps he did something because of his own stupid ass fault through drunkenness or addictions, or he lost his job. Maybe he was lazy, had a bad work ethic. Maybe, something happened. His friends all turned their back on him and he has no friends anymore. Well, the red pill's there. It's
Yeah,
a natural
because
law process.
we've been through it and we understand. In order to help a man, first you have to understand him and what he's gone through. And a man who's gone through being zeroed out brutal divorce, where the fuck is he going to go? Can he go to the church and have
I wish he
anybody
could.
understand him?
I hope he. I
No.
wish he could. Maybe there's a few out there. Maybe there's a few.
Maybe, but he can
Not
come
many.
in the
Not
red
many.
pill. He can listen to other men who've been through this
Right.
and can understand him
Yeah.
and say, well, okay, it is what it is. Here's what we've learned from this. And he can be in a community of men who can identify with what he's going through.
Well, I would state it. I'll flip it around a little bit. The church,
Okay.
if the church was doing its job, there wouldn't be a red pill.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Our friend Glenn had said the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
agree
got
with
it from
that.
him.
Yep. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's way more we agree with between us and Glenn than we disagree with. Way more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of friends, well, the Bible actually gives some good wisdom, right? The red pill gives wisdom, but the Bible actually said it beforehand. In 1 Corinthians 15, verse 33 says, "Do not be deceived. Evil company corrupts good habits." And it says there's another one that birds of a feather flock together. And Proverbs 13:20 says, "He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed." And then Proverbs only talks about the problem of having bad friends that entice one. He says, "Don't go with them." Oh, I mean, sexual immorality can bring problems, STDs, immorality. It actually makes you not so good in the sight of God and could bring you problems. Oh, yeah, the Bible talks a whole bunch about that in Proverbs 5, 6, and 7. These women lead you to Sheol. They give you rottenness in your bones. The Bible, forbids drunkenness. The Bible also talks about problem of laziness or a bad work ethic, which we haven't really talked about so much. I guess we can talk about that now. Are video
We
games a
can,
solution?
or we can just say, yeah, everybody knows what happens if a man doesn't work very hard.
You don't eat, right? Don't work, don't eat. Oh yeah, that's in the Bible, right?
Well,
Imagine
okay.
that.
No. See, Nick, here's the problem with that. Big Daddy government will come in and they'll make sure you eat.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is the government. We got to help the children and the single mommies and the 304s. So you raise up the next generation and the next generation of what do you call them? Women, where they assume everything's going to work in their favor. Delusional,
Entitled.
instead of entitled. Yeah, delusional, entitled women and shitty men, right? That don't know how to put in a
You
good
know,
day's work.
oftentimes people don't do the right thing unless they have no other choice.
Yeah, imagine that.
So if you support people in their sinful nature and allow them to live rather than do the right thing, which is often the hard thing, yeah, they're going to take the easy route.
Yeah, imagine that, guys. That's not too hard to imagine. Oh, but man, that red pill, it's so evil. It talks about men needing to be men of value, right?
You mean not lazy?
Yeah. Oh, that damnable red pill.
I'm gonna have to go
Oh,
back and
yeah.
add a clip into my thing about Tim Pool basically saying all these lazy men out there, and they're in the same stream they're ragging on the red pill. Sorry, that's for Monday, but but Okay, that's intellect. That goes back to intellectual sloth, though. It's lazy argumentation. You're running around saying, "Oh, the all these lazy men out here," and then you immediately come and attack literally the one group of men that's trying to improve men and help make themselves less lazy. Like, come on, bro, do better.
That's hilarious. You use their own thing against them. Okay.
It's just what do we now have a Father's Day sermons from Plutarch? Do better, man.
No, Timmy boy, you do better.
So yeah. Oh, so like the Bible, and the red pill teach that men should be men of value. Imagine that. Okay, guys. So I think that's pretty simple. Okay, how not to wreck yourself. Find a decent trade or career where you can be something and work hard.
And don't get taken in by drugs or alcohol or, frankly, even women, particularly of the promiscuous sort.
Yeah, and frankly, you'll have a happier life if you go into the trades where you're working primarily among men. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to go into the workforce and experience drama during the day. You can just
Can
be on a
confirm.
job site or whatever, and just around men. And you wouldn't believe the amount of mental burden that takes off your mind. Yeah, okay. You might not make as much, but I'll tell you, if you become an HVAC technician, an electrician, a skilled tradesman with 2 years, those guys make way more money than most professional men. You'll be, that an HVAC technician is probably paid $50, $60, $70 an hour. I mean, his time is billed out a couple $100 an hour. So he's pulling down way into the six figures. And he's probably working 50, 60 hours a week. I mean, come on, guys. And he doesn't have to work around women? Get any better than that.
But Steve, I have to work outside in the sun, in the rain, and it's not very comfortable. Wouldn't sitting in an office be better? Look, guys, no, because
thank God for the wind and the snow and the rain, because women don't want to do that.
well, and guys, here's the honest truth. I worked in an office for over a decade, and I was pulling. Well, Steve said 100 or 75 or $70 an hour. That's about 135 a year pre-tax. Guess what? In my office job, surrounded by women, creating messes, and having to be on guard against everything. You couldn't just go out and have a drink with the boys because the girls were coming too, right? All of that stuff. And you want to know how much I made? You want to know how much I made? $70 an hour.
Okay, well, same. Yeah. Okay. Pretty funny, isn't it?
All right. Laziness, work ethic. Talk keeps going round and about to having good friends, and all these things seem to impact one another. But okay, yeah, these are the things that we can do to control ourselves, but you can't ever perfectly inoculate yourself against the betraying woman. There's outside influences, and yeah, there's some things you can do to help prevent that. We talked about vetting women, red flags, so on and so forth, being fit, a man of value, not being a drunk. Yeah, all these things can help you, but you can't change the person you have an LTR with or are married to. You can't change them. Sure, you may influence them, but you can never make them be what you want them to be. You can't force them.
Well, and I mean, in the Red Pill, we talk a lot about vetting, and I am a firm believer in vetting. But even then, guys, it ain't perfect.
No. So I'm going to go here. Proverbs 14 says, "Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands." And Ecclesiastes 7 says, "I find more bitter than death the woman whose heart is snares and nets, and her hands as bands. Whoso pleaseth God shall escape from her, but the sinner shall be taken by her. Behold, this I found out, saith the preacher, counting one by one to find out the account which yet my soul seeketh, but I find not one man among 1,000 have I found, but a woman among all those have I not found. Lo, this only have I found, that God hath made man upright, but they have sought out many inventions."
You know,
So
is it also in Proverbs where it's better to live in the corner of a rooftop than with a contentious woman?
sometimes you can do all the vetting and you still get stuck with a betrayal or a foolish woman
Well,
who seeks to destroy the home
and
and
since
wreck
we
you.
now live in the age of effeminate men, we actually have it a little easier in that regard, because if an effeminate man is found out, you can cast him out from your group, and I would recommend you guys do that.
You should.
You know,
So, okay, here's kind of a solution, not really a solution. But what should a man do? Yeah, you said he can't control a woman.
Yeah.
We said at the beginning of the stream, a man can only control himself. Okay, so how does this impact his relationship with a woman? Well, a man is supposed to be the head of the household. There is a hierarchy. He is the husband. So, you go back to Genesis. Her desire will be for her husband, or to control her husband, and he shall rule over her. Okay,
correct.
so what is ruling? Controlling her? Be nice, but it doesn't happen
No,
that
it's
way.
just exercising authority.
Okay, so what is that authority? Having boundaries. Your boundaries. This, predominantly, maybe not exclusively, but no, this is my boundary. When I say this is how things are going to be, this is how you have to treat me with respect, that's my boundary.
Hmm.
And you have to start having those boundaries of what behavior you will tolerate. And if you have those boundaries before you get married, you can maintain those boundaries after. But you cannot make her a better person or more easy to get along with by accommodating. You have to have your boundaries, because remember, you can't control her. You can control yourself. And your boundaries belong to you, not to her. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, they should be obedient to the direction of their husband, but doesn't mean they will.
Well,
No,
I
but you
think we
can
have to
enforce your
acknowledge,
boundaries first.
right?
Right.
And then, okay, That's primary. And then you can extend beyond that. But if you can't control your boundaries, and if she's crossing your principled and moral boundaries, good luck with anything else.
Well, and I think we have to acknowledge that in the modern day, women used to be raised in a way where they understood that if they crossed a boundary, they were in trouble. But we don't live in that world anymore. And I know we're getting close to the end of the stream, and this will probably end up turning into a whole new stream, about debating what we're going to have to do here. But it might get to the point where, for at least a while, the church is going to have to say, you know what? We accept that you left this woman not for purely Christian reasons, but you maybe you make the argument as unevenly yoked. She didn't really actually believe it. That's kind of where I got to with mine. It's like, I mean, in hers, with her, she cheated, so that was the obvious out. But thinking back through the whole relationship, going, did she actually ever believe in any of this? Right, and the answer is no. And so we're gonna have to work on this idea that just because she did or did not cheat, just because she did or did not meet that standard, if she's doing everything but, then I don't have a good answer here. But there might need to be a little more acceptance of just saying, see ya. Because you're talking about boundaries, and if you keep crossing boundaries and then turning around saying, neener, you can't cross, your boundaries because the church says you can't get divorced.
Well, the church won't do any discipline to excommunicate the person in the first place.
Right. So, it's like, I'm kind of like, the church is going to have to give something up here.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why I instituted disciplinary charges, and you had conflicting, you had the lack of doing anything on a session level while the presbytery condemned her actions. I'm like, this makes no sense. Like, you guys didn't do your job, which is the feminized church. It's like, no, it's
40
somehow man bad.
lashes with a wet noodle.
Yeah, but hey, if it was the man doing it, oh, they would have come down on him hard. They don't come down on the women, and they should.
Well, in conclusion, and we'll probably keep going after this, but okay, we talk about the red pill. That exists. The blue pill exists. And one of these days, we'll probably talk about the purple pill, where a guy wants to have some aspects of the red pill, some aspects of the blue pill, and it becomes purple. But I'll tell you one thing that doesn't exist is the magic pill. It makes it all work perfectly.
No. The red pill's not a magic pill.
No, it's not. It's a series of observations. It's a series of descriptions to describe those observations, and it is a menu of actions you can take to deal with those observations. Doesn't mean you have to do every one of the prescriptions or actions. You don't. I didn't. And if the red pill is going to go around and say, well, you didn't do everything we said, so you're not really red pill, bad news for you. Get the fuck out. You're wrong. But at the same time, because that's just a purity test. It's worthless. It's useless. So, we have to, as men in this space, be aware of, well, just because I don't agree with everything doesn't make it all bad. By the way, that's called a composition fallacies. If one thing is bad, then it's all bad. No, the red pill exists because the church is not doing its job. And so if you're expecting the red pill to be, as I hate to say this, as moral as the church, because we all know how moral the church can not be, but if you're expecting a secular institution to be as moral as the church, you've already lost.
It can't. It was never designed to.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we in? An hour
So
and a
guys,
half already?
so
Yep.
basically we're saying you can be red pilled, you could be the most red pill guy out there. You could be doing everything right that the church says. You could be a man and you're in a perfect frame and you can be Tom Brady and get divorced. You could still be plotted against and get the silver bullet divorce where, you know, for some reason
False accusations
generally there
of
might
the
be some
nastiest
psychosis
sort.
and there could be like some psychology that you don't understand that you're interacting with as well, like a BPD or NPD woman. Um, and
Yep.
you could have your life turned upside down, even though you did nothing wrong. You could be like David, right? Who's following God, right? Before what happened with Bathsheba. And Saul comes after you. Your stepfather, by the way. That's his stepfather. And he gives your own wife to another. And she goes along with it. So she commits adultery and abandons the marriage. And that same woman could laugh at you while you're trying and despise you while you're worshiping God and serving Him with all your being. This stuff can happen. I'm not a David, guys.
Well, it's so as much as we are trying to fortify you against getting wrecked, the asterisk on this stream is that other people can make choices and they will make choices. And some of those choices you're not going to see coming. So part of being a man is learning how to roll with the punches.
Guess
So,
what? Jesus was betrayed by his friend Judas. Jesus suffered and died, and he was
so,
raised victorious over the grave, and he'll set everything right one day.
so do the events destroy you, or
Yeah.
does your reaction to the events ultimately destroy you? Because, yeah, you can have everything wiped out, your wealth and all that, and you can be in suffering and virtual slavery. You're still not destroyed. Find purpose in your life. You have an immense challenge. But is it the external things that destroy you, or really what you do with that? And I'm not saying you can recover and attain what you had before. You know, I don't think that's how ultimate, how God measures things. So, yeah, maybe if you know how this started, Nick and I had a disagreement about the title for this stream. Don't get wrecked or don't wreck yourself. Hey, you know what? I guess I'm coming around to Nick's side and say ultimately it's your choice. And being wrecked is up to you.
Remember,
Well,
guys, it's not just this temporal life that you can get wrecked. Don't wreck yourself for eternity.
Yeah, and I want to thank our followers and the people who watch this stream. Thanks for sticking with us, a small channel. I think I trust Nick and Plutarch. I think we all have the best intentions, and we're not perfect, man. But we'd like to help you. If you have questions or things you want us to address, by all means, let us know, and we'll think about it, and we'll have a discussion. We'll give you stuff to think about. maybe not answers, because, the answers are up to you. What are you going to do with the hardships that come your way? It's up to you.
Well, I the way I said it in the last stream, we're not here to tell you what to think. We're just here to give you things to think about. We want to hope that the audience that we collect is an audience of thinkers. I mean, we'll talk to anybody, but if you're here, just understand that we're not going to try and tell you how to think or what to feel. We just want to give you some things to think about, and that's kind of what this stream has at least in my mind has been about tonight. Just some things to think about, so that you know what, your chances of getting wrecked go down.
Yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts from anybody else?
No, it's not all doom and gloom, guys. But you shouldn't be ignorant either.
Yeah, I
There
like
are
that.
good women out there.
A few.
There's a few good women out there. It's not all doom and gloom. Where are you looking for? What are you looking for? Where are you looking for them? And when you think, if you're looking in the right place, are you looking at the right demographic? Meaning, are you looking at the right age group? And are you looking at their past?
Still got to do your work, guys. We
Do your work.
Hey, we did a stream about a week ago on how to vet. It was vetting church ladies, but it was really vetting all women or any woman.
It was 2 weeks ago
That's
now,
probably
actually.
useful. 2 weeks, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah,
My, how time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
indeed.
All right, guys. Any other further thoughts? Please like and subscribe to the Resurgence of Sanity. There you go. I said
And
it.
and
what are we
hey,
talking about?
if you guys know anybody who needs to hear this, maybe they're setting themselves up to get wrecked. Maybe you see them going down the alcohol path a little too hard. Maybe they're getting in with a girl they really shouldn't be getting in with. Please send them this. Men need to hear this.
Yeah.
And what are we talking about Monday, guys?
Well, Monday is so. Last Monday we did probably the driest stream we've ever done. Because talking about Plato and sophistry, and I'm just not sure there was ever a good way to punch that up and make it not dry. So next week, I'm going to be tearing apart an example of sophistry in practice in the modern world. What the Greeks called sophistry, we call narrative, and it's part of the reason we've taken such a keen interest in narratives. So we're gonna go take a look at Tim Pool, and he had Lily Gladys, Alex Stein, and Rachel Wilson on, and my clips do not include Rachel Wilson, not because I don't like her, but because I had no beef with anything she said. My beef was primarily with Alex and Tim. So we're gonna get into that. I'm gonna see if there's some Daily Wire clips that make sense in my library of Daily Wire YouTube videos to cut up. I think I remember one that we've actually talked about before with Glenn that I'm going to pull up. But the idea here is to really kind of take a look at how these narratives are constructed, but also how you can just start asking basic questions about the arguments they're making. We kind of got into it a little bit here earlier today. Of some of the arguments that these people make are absolutely brain dead. Like they're not thinking about it, and all you have to do is sit there and go, okay, but you just said, wait a minute, So we're going to do a nuts and bolts. This is going to be kind of more of like an example, tear apart of what we were talking about before. And then on Wednesday, I'm going to be really busy. I'm trying to put together a stream on where all of this ends up. And I'm not going to give away that the punchline to that because it's not even my idea. My dad gave it to me. I'm still trying to work out with him whether or not he can even join us to explain himself. So we might hopefully have a special guest on. But it's his idea. And when I was talking to him on Monday, and he just dropped it on me as I was discussing these these past few streams we've done about red pill and sophistry. And I just kind of had to stop and roll it around in my head for a few minutes because I've never heard anything like this before. So
I
that'll
just
be
want to make
Wednesday.
a comment there. I am fully in favor of having more old geezers.
Yeah, he's an old geezer now. I love the man, but he definitely has the gray side of things working for him right now. So, but that's kind of that's what we're looking for the next 2 episodes, I think. So that'll be next week. Just as a reminder, guys, I will not be around on. I've got one coming up that I'm not going to be around on. So I just don't want to give the date out. Y'all will know when they launch.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Okay.
Please like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Yep.